I keep repeating this and I will keep doing it to tell you that I love reading books. And until my 90s, I read over 1,000 of those. In my schools, I had a really well supplied libraries, and I was one of the people in my schools that was reading most of the books that there were in those places. After 90s, I wasn't reading that many books anymore, mostly because most of them seemed to be the same for me. Anyway, I wanted to share with you the books that I remember till this time that I was reading until those 90s, and maybe some books that I read after that are worth looking for. Of course, my memory is not perfect, so when it goes for some titles that I'm going to mention, I only remember that they were amazing, but I don't really remember what they were about. First one. My favorite one that I still have, but it's packed somewhere in the box that I don't want to unpack right now. A series of unfortunate events. You probably know this title until this point because there was a movie with Jim Carrey, and also there is a series on Netflix covering the whole series of all 13 books. What was amazing for me when I was a child while reading this, most of the books that I was reading were ending with happy endings, when this series was literally a crime series for children. You are still hoping that maybe they will survive, maybe they will achieve the victory, maybe they will fight the evil finally. But this is a series of unfortunate events. It's 13 books. It may be hard to get them because, for example, in Poland you can't buy a new one anymore, and the prices that I've looked in on the internet are hella high. Another one, Felix Net i Nika. This series is from Polish author Rafał Kosik, who's also writing sci-fi books, which are really popular as well. The series that I mentioned, Felix Net i Nika, is about Polish teenagers who are going to school and who are experiencing some weird adventures, like fighting with artificial intelligence, time travel, meeting with ghosts, and other unnatural phenomena. It's really funny. It may be hard for you to experience it as I did because it's mostly like a caricature of Polish educational system. I highly recommend this one. Next book, probably really well known for computer games players, Metro 2033 and the whole universum of this book. When it goes for post-Apple, I really love this concept. Of course, I didn't want to experience it on my own, but reading about this, diving into this world is a different experience. This book is about people living in metro lines in Moscow after the atomic apocalypse that happened on the world. It's about how those people handle the world after the apocalypse. How do they live? What do they experience? How do they fight every day? And also with an amazing story that literally blew my mind. Next book, this time from Poland, probably maybe well known for you already because of the series on Netflix, The Witcher, written by Polish writer Andrzej Sapkowski. This book is now well known on the entire world because of the games, because of the series on Netflix. When I was reading it for the first time, it was a little bit hard for me to read it because of the language that was used in the series. But when I dived even more into this and I grown up a little bit more, it became way better for me. Became way easier, way more enjoyable. Those books are amazing, but I'm a little bit worried because the author wants to write a little more books. The next one that is probably the main contributor to my love to fantasy worlds, Lord of the Rings, and of course Hobbit as well. I had the chance to read Hobbit as the first one, so chronologically Hobbit was first. And it was way easier for me to read it when I was going to school. It was written in way simpler language than the Lord of the Rings itself. I really love Hobbit, and when it goes for Lord of the Rings, I was struggling while reading this for the first time because of the language. It was quite hard for me, and it took me like 1 or 2 years before I actually started reading it from the scratch. And this time I was going to middle school, and it was way better for me, way better experience. I enjoyed it way more than on my first try, on my first attempt to actually try reading this. So a tip from me: if you will ever try reading, starting any book, and you will struggle at the very beginning, wait some time, don't force yourself. Another book, it's really hard to not know about its existence. Sherlock Holmes. Right now I'm holding the book that contains every single story about this detective, even those that weren't completed. There were so many movies and series about Sherlock Holmes that I don't even need to explain to you what is this all about. Everyone knows Sherlock, he's loved by many people, and if you're really into detective stories, read this for sure. But if you want to read something that is more cruel, have more blood, and you're really into crime scenes, books from O.I.S are probably going to suit you well. Unfortunately, I don't have those on my bookshelf, but I read almost all of those. It's really thrilling, with a lot of action, with amazing plot, and I can assure you that after finishing reading the first book, you will really want to read more. Another series that is probably well known: Harry Potter. When you have to choose books or movie adaptations, of course books will be always on top priority. So when last time I was rewatching all the movies because I really wanted to do this, then later I've got the idea to reread all the books. I'm really struggling with reading something for the second time because I mostly remember what happened. But when I read again all the Harry Potter books, I realized I don't ever want to watch movies anymore, because books are way better than the movies. When you're making a movie adaptation, of course you need to cut like a lot of material. So many things were changed that I don't want to go back to movies anymore. And the last but not least, Charlie Bone. I was reading it like a long time ago when I was going to primary school, so I barely remember about what it was. I had to go it out. It was about a child who was able to interact with pictures and paintings. He was able to hear what they were saying. He was even able to take items from them, and also he was connected to, I don't remember how was it called, Scarlet King, Red King. Anyway, I only remember that this series was really amazing, and I read like 6 books out of 8. Maybe at some point I will buy it for myself and I will read it again from the scratch. And that's some of the titles that I truly remember right now till this day. There were of course way more books that I loved. There are some books that I really enjoyed, but I don't remember the titles because there were hundreds of those. As I've said, over 1,000 books till my 90s. And only what I can say: if you don't like reading books, try with the titles that I mentioned. Maybe you will change your mind, like my friend from primary school. When I borrowed her one of my books, it was Peter Chronicles. After those, she started borrowing all of my books that I had. So thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, share it with your friends, and leave a like button. See you next time. Bye!